Are you looking for an all-season shuttle and trail building vehicle? Well, today we're going to be reviewing the Polaris Xpedition ADV 5 Northstar Edition. Let's ride. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I know this is not our normal mountain bike two-wheeled content, but this is still something that is a lot of fun out on the trails, and that's why we're going to review this product. It has been an awesome tool. If you want to call it a tool, I feel like tools shouldn't be this fun, but we have had a blast nonetheless in the Polaris. Again, this is the Northstar Edition, and it is a fully enclosed, climate-controlled, stereo-equipped, navigation-equipped luxury UTV. It's a 5-seater. It's got a tow hitch on the back, so as you can see, we have been putting it to use, getting in tons of shuttle laps. We've taken this thing out when it's been like 98 degrees, cranked the AC, and been totally comfortable. Today, conditions have changed, temperatures have dropped, it's now raining, so windows are closed, you got the heater cranked. All in all, this is an incredibly versatile and fun machine. So let's get into a couple of the quick details and then talk about why we like this thing so much. So this is the Northstar trim level in the ADV 5 model. And essentially what that means is it's 114 horsepower, ProStar 1000 Gen 2 engine. It has got the Fox Podium shocks, which are adjustable, pretty easily adjustable except for the right rear shock. It's kind of hidden up near the header and it gets very hot up there. So I don't know exactly how much that changes performance as that shock and the oil in there gets really hot, but it's definitely hard to change the suspension settings. We've been lucky enough to find sticks and been able to turn those knobs when we want to make changes out on the trail. But that said, it's got a high clearance dual A-arm design with stabilizer bar. It's got 14 inches of ground clearance. 30-inch tires, which have been pretty solid all around. I mean, we're in the high desert, so it's either a lot of like embedded lava rock or loose over hard packed terrain. And for the most part, the tires haven't really been the limiting factor on us being able to push this vehicle hard. I would say it'd be more like the body roll and soft suspension, which also makes this thing incredibly comfortable and probably makes it even more gentle on the bikes when the rack is fully loaded. We have driven this thing quite a bit with no bike rack on there at OHV areas and mixed use trails. I've tackled whoops that are easily this steep at 55 miles an hour and I'm blown away. I have my wife in here who's pretty versed in off-road I guess activities, but she was blown away. You round a corner and all of a sudden you just see like a sea of whoops and you're just like, uh-oh, this might be bad. And then all of a sudden you get 4 or 5 whoops in and you're like, oh, I can keep my foot in the gas and just plow over the stuff. And that is a really cool thing about this vehicle. So yeah, has a 4,500 pound winch on this model. It's got a front bull bumper with a skid plate, ProFit sport roof and integration liner, a flat roof up top. So as you can see, you've got the abilities like we have a Rhino rack with a fold out tent up top, a rooftop tent. That's been really cool. To go out, you can explore, have a good time out adventuring. If you come out to a spot and you want to build and work on trail for a weekend or have a little family getaway and do some exploring, having a nice sealed vehicle and then a nice weatherproof resistant tent up top is really nice. External dimensions on the vehicle is a 64-inch width, 117-inch wheelbase. The overall height is 74.9 inches. It has a 12.5 gallon fuel capacity. The rear box area has a 600 pound capacity and it's got a 2-inch receiver with a 2,000 pound tow rating. And those are most of the rough flyover specs on this thing. Again, we're not really a UTV review site. We wouldn't mind. It's really fun. So send us more if you want to test them, but forgive us if we don't go super deep into the details there. We'll link down to Polaris' site if you want to check that out. So from a usability standpoint, we'll talk about some of the things that really stood out to us rather than just kind of reading off of a chart of features. So first we'll start out with just the general drivability and usability of the vehicle. It is rather easy to drive. Today, we had my sister come out. We had one guy who couldn't make it last minute, so rather than sit odd man out for shuttles, my sister was kind enough to donate some time, and we put her in this thing. She has never driven a UTV, has very little off-road experience, and I was able to turn this thing on, set a waypoint at the top, and label it top, set a waypoint at the bottom of our downhill track, and label that bottom. And from there, I said, follow your waypoints up and down, back and forth, and she drove it all day, never made a wrong turn. She plugged in her phone via USB or hooked it up via Bluetooth, listened to a podcast while she was waiting for us, and we cranked some tunes on the way up through this really awesome stereo system that's in here with a subwoofer. So that is awesome. I talked a little bit about why we really liked the AC and the heat. As you can maybe see now, it is starting to rain a little bit. The temperature is dropping. When you're moving and you're sweaty from a ride, or if you've been outside building trail and the temperatures are cold, being able to come in here, crank the heater, and warm yourself up is a really nice treat. You know, sometimes you're not very motivated to get back outside into the elements, and if you can warm up for a little bit, or cool down in the AC cab, and then hop back out into the warm temps to go ride, that really lifts the spirits for the crew, and is something that we really like about this vehicle. Power windows throughout, fully enclosed doors, enclosed headliner. I mean, this thing feels more like a car inside than a UTV. Pop-out windshield is definitely something that's nice. I will say the airflow isn't great with the windows down in here when it is hot. So we would crack that window open and let the air come through and cool us down. It was really nice. One downside that we kind of think we discovered is that when it is all enclosed, it's loud inside. So you definitely will probably want to have ear protection, or make sure you have really muffled, you know, DOT or off-road moto helmets. But if you're susceptible to noise and get headaches, especially if you're in the back seat, earplugs would probably be smart. Could potentially also be a nice thing to see in like these higher, kind of more luxury build models, have a little bit of sound deadening in the back to keep it a little bit quieter. But when the windows are open, especially this windshield, the sound certainly drops. So this vehicle can either be driven in a turf mode, two-wheel, rear-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive. While the two-wheel drive is definitely a whole lot of fun and makes for some nice drifts, we opt for four-wheel drive most of our time driving the vehicle. We think it wears down roads a little bit, just trying to be a little bit more courteous and not create so many washboards. But it's also just helps make the vehicle drive a little nicer in most scenarios. Along with that, there are a couple of different modes. You've got comfort, standard, and a sport mode, which will kind of just change the way that that throttle feels a little bit. Primarily, we spend our time driving it in the sport mode. And, you know, we haven't had this unit since it was brand new, so we can't say if, you know, maybe there's some tired equipment on there. It was supposedly serviced before we got it, but when it was loaded up with four bikes and 5 people inside, and we were climbing some hills at, I think we're at, what was it, 5,800 feet elevation? We had it pinned. Like, our foot was on the floor and we weren't going all that fast. A little bit more power would be awesome. When you get into some of the flatter terrain, or when it's not loaded up with so many people, it's definitely got a little more pep to it. And again, not sure if maybe there's just a couple of tired parts on there, but it would be cool to maybe see another 30 horsepower out of this thing if possible. I think, you know, maybe even 20 would be pretty nice. Again, still enough to get the tires to spin, still enough to have a lot of fun. But if you're climbing a lot of steep, sustained hills at elevation, and you're loaded up, we definitely noticed a little bit of less power than we would ideally like. Moving out to the back here, we'll get this bike rack out of the way a little bit and check out the enclosed storage area. This is a non-tilting bed, something that, I don't know, to note is the last vehicle we tested was the General XP Edition, which we loved. That thing was so much fun. I would say from an off-road perspective, that's a little bit more of a sporty feeling vehicle. Definitely felt like it had a little more pep and a little more capabilities to go charging hard in the off-road space. It has a tilting bed. This does not, which again is probably, you're not probably buying this vehicle if you are using it to work in that capacity, or you could always tow it. So inside here, you've got plenty of storage space. It is a 60/40 seat configuration out back, so you can fold it down if you would like more storage. Also, the seat bottoms will fold up, so whether you want to have more storage in the back with a nice flat area or have more storage in kind of the seated cab area, you've got those options. Full-size spare tire here inside, and the ability to mount on these tracks any other accessories or devices that you'd like to do. This was great for us, you know, putting coolers, toolboxes, cameraman equipment back here. This was all really nicely used, and again, it's a pretty sizable area, so you've got the ability to transport a lot of essential stuff if you want it. And I just think if you're buying this kind of vehicle, you probably don't need a dump bed. You could either tow a trailer or look at one of their other models if that's what you're looking for. So there you have it, folks. Again, we are not professional UTV reviewers. We primarily test and review mountain bikes, e-bikes, and some dirt bikes occasionally. But we have been fortunate enough to review and test about 4 UTVs in the last couple of years, and they have been a ton of fun, and we find ourselves using them quite a bit. It's always sad when we got to give them back. Of all of the UTVs that we have had and tested, I would say that this is probably the one that fits me and my family and coworkers' lifestyle the most. It will allow me to go out to an OHV park, have a bunch of fun, rip around on some trails. It'll allow me to go on a little camping trip or an exploration day trip with my family. It'll give us a good mobile base if we want to do some trail building and trail maintenance work, or if we want to be filming, testing, and shuttling out on the trails with our bikes and the weather's not great, whether it's too hot or too cold. I absolutely love this vehicle. It is a ton of fun. Granted, it is a pretty expensive investment, at least in this Northstar Edition, but you know, you're kind of paying for a pinnacle in performance and comfort, most importantly. I think this thing has definitely got all the creature comforts, and it will let you rip trail, shuttle with ease and speed, and be comfortable doing it. So thanks again to Polaris for letting us use this unit. And if you want to send any more our way, we're happy to test them. Thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe to see a lot more videos on mountain bike and e-bike reviews, and we'll see you out on the trails.